item, they created something called extensible item. So they created an item type called extensible item, which extends item. It's like class A extends class B, that concept. So all the properties of item are now available even in extensible item. You can also define some additional properties for extensible item. See, if you open item, there are some default attributes. Attributes are there, right? So these are all you can assume something like this. A table contains columns, item type contains attributes. That's how it is. Okay. Now you have item, you have extensible item, which is defined by extending item. Okay, and then they have created something called localizable item by extending extensible item. So class A, then class B extends A, then class C extends B, and then class D extends C. That's how they have defined. So they have defined localizable item by extending extensible item. Okay, they have defined this localizable item. Now, okay, if you just minimize this, you also see something called generic item. Generic item extends localizable item. Just write down the hierarchy now. You have the hierarchy in this way: item, then followed by extensible item, then followed by the localizable item, then followed by your generic item. Okay, these are the four item types which are given to us as base item types. They are already given to us. We need not worry. Okay, these are the four item types which are given to us. These are the base item types. Okay, so write down. Okay, you write a class in Java. By default, will it extend? Will it extend that particular object or not? Yes, no. Hmm. You need not actually mention it, because when you right click and say create a class, it would always show you object. It is already extending. Now, what does object class contain, guys? Can anybody tell me? What does object class contain?
It contains some methods.
Like, tell me the methods. Tell me the methods.
Hash code
Hmm.
equals,
Hmm.
then toString.
Next, there are some 6, 7 methods. Seven,
Yeah,
eight.
7 methods,
Look,
correct.
I'm not sure about the exact number.
Notify.
Finalize.
What?
Wait all.
Wait, all notify.
Finalize.
Very good. So these are the 7 methods that you have. So the point here is you have these methods. You need to have these methods across all of the classes. That is why they have grouped them and they have put it at a parent level, so that you need not repeatedly define them. The concept of inheritance. In a similar way, they have defined your complete data modeling concept even in a similar way. Okay, now let's try to think what. See here, guys, from now on, let's say you are creating your own item type. I say item type code equal to my type. I don't extend anything. By default it will extend generic item. You don't mention anything, it will by default extend generic item. So for us the parent for everything is generic item. Okay, from our perspective, whatever we are creating, it will directly extend generic item if you are not mentioning any extents. Okay, I mean to say extents, you did not mention anything. You removed that particular value within that. You just wrote item type code equal to that item type name, extents equal to just empty quotes. You did not mention. By default it will take it as generic item for our item types, whatever we define. Okay, so just write down generic item is the parent item for every item type that we define. And that's how the design also should be. You need not care about item, extensible item, localizable item. You need not care about it, because every item type, if see, what does this generic item and all these things contain? They contain minimum amount of attributes, minimum amount of you know the configurations which are really required to make sure that whatever you are creating is an item type. So in order to say the thing that you created is an item type, you require some basic configurations. Those basic configurations are present in your generic item. To call an item type, I require some meaningful data. That meaningful data is only present in your generic item. Okay, which is minimum required. For example, you create, let's just say you are trying to create a mm, okay, something like this. You are trying to create a customer. Can you tell me what are the common columns that will be present in customer, product and address? I'll
Order.
try to show you the, come on man. I want to
Customer
ask
ID.
you the
Customer ID.
columns. I want the common columns. Okay, I'll try to give you three different ways, then it will be more easy for you. See, this is a product. I right click and say create product. Okay, I'll scroll down. I'll open WCMS. I'll try to right click on website and say create website. Okay, here I have page. I'll right click and say create catalog or content page. Okay, I'll try to create content page. I'll go somewhere near the language. Okay, I right click and say create language. What will be the common columns across all of these?
ID. Create user ID.
User ID will not be there for a language, right?
No,
ID column. Create user ID.
One second. ID
created by and created date, modified by and modified date.
very good, very good, very good. These are the things that I was asking. You have created date, modified date, last changes. These are the columns which should be present across all of them. Okay, there is no user ID and all. Yeah, I'm not talking the interrelation. There are some common columns which are mandatorily required for every particular item type. You create, you don't create, that's a separate story. You want to enter a new row in this, you need to maintain some common fields like when it was created, when was it modified, when was the last time that the row was modified. So the same thing exists for everything. Although they are not interrelated, there are some common columns across all of these. Those common columns are all put in your generic item. Okay, so that's what is the importance of it. Not just that, there are several such features which we will be talking about. See here, guys. If you are defining some item type from the scratch, if you are defining some item from the scratch, you need to extend generic item. If you are defining an item from the scratch, you need to extend generic item. I'm assuming you guys are making notes. If you are creating an item type from the scratch, you need to extend generic item. That's the baseline. Okay, assume that I don't want to extend generic item. Okay, what my client has told me is Hybris is already giving me some 100 attributes for product. When I'm right clicking on product, I go to the top, I just right click on the product and say create product. I already have some 100 attributes in all of these tabs combined together. So I have so many plenty of attributes which are already given to me by Hybris. So what is the point of creating new attributes every time? That's not a point at all. I want to use all of the attributes that are present already for the product. Plus, I want some extra 10 attributes from my side. I just want to make sure that I have extra 10 attributes. I don't want you to create all of the complete attributes again from the scratch. I want you to utilize all of Hybris related columns plus create only extra 10 columns. Okay, you may create them directly within this type only. I want you to add them directly into the product, or create something called Nike product. Create something called Nike product, which extends product. In that Nike product, add your 10 extra columns. Okay, so whenever you query on Nike item type, 110 columns will be returned. When you query on product, only this one, it would only return you that 100 columns. So it's all up to your idea what you want to return, how do you want to fetch the data and all. Okay, the main idea behind this is you want to create something by extending the existing data, or you want to create something from the scratch of whatever it is. I mean, you are trying to create either by extending an existing one, or you can try to create something from the scratch. So if you're extending something and creating, your code should be like this: item type code equal to my type, sorry, whatever, Nike product extends product. That means you are extending product and you are creating some new item type. That is first case. Second case is item type code equal to Nike product extends generic item. If it is extending generic item, that means it is not there in the database till now. You are creating something from the scratch. Okay, from the scratch you are creating. So that's the base again you are trying to create. So you can use several. So it's like vehicle, car, and bike. Whatever are common to car and bike, you will put it in vehicle, right? Vehicle class. So vehicle should extend generic item, but car and bike can extend vehicle. That's how your data model should be. I'm assuming you guys are getting the point. Any doubt here? Okay. Can I go ahead?
Kiran,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
you said no, if I want to create a scratch from, then I has to extend the generic item.
Yes.
But if
Yes.
I won't define, then also it will be extending generic item.
That's it. But it is not recommended you not to put generic item, right? You should mention it as generic item. Extends generic item is something which you should mention for at least readability purpose. That's a standard across the industry.
Okay, okay.
Even if you don't mention also, it will take generic item only, but doesn't mean it because it takes I don't mention it. Because somebody who's preparing your see, you write your code, you leave the project, you go to another project, but somebody who's already working on the project should understand it, right? So accordingly, you should write it as generic item, you should mention it. Okay, so okay, we'll just move on. Now I'll just try to see something called code equal to product. Okay, if you see here, guys, they defined an item type called product. Okay, they defined an item type called product, which extends generic item. Because this is extending generic item, it's a base item type. Base item type as in something they have defined from the scratch. From the scratch, generic item is a base item type, right? So extending a base item type, they are defining something called product. So product is like that. I was telling you vehicle, car, bike, right? Vehicle is the parent of both car and bike. So vehicle contains the common properties of both car and bike. In a similar way, you have your product, which is extending generic item. So product is that item type which contains all what different kinds of products contain. For example, let's go here. I right click on product. I can see apparel product, I can see MAM demo product, and I can see normal product. Apparel product and product, the difference is there are some extra columns in apparel product. Um, MAM demo product also contains its own specific columns. Let's just try to analyze. I rightly can say create product. Okay. I rightly can say create product, and then I go to administration. the starting statement that I told you is not an exact one. So it's like this: an item type is not a true representation of a single table. Item type is not a true representation of a single table. I just gave you that idea so that you will picturize something in your mind. It is not one table. There can be 10 tables which one single item type can be managing. For example, your product information might be stored in some 3-4 tables: product table, product prices table, product media table, product images table. Okay, you might be having several such tables. From hybrid side, what will you do? You will try to store data in product item type. Internally, that will only point and see which columns from which table need to be saved. That is all headache of framework. Our duty is to just mention what you want to save in the item type. Okay, we'll see it, don't get confused, and don't even think that you are not able to understand something and all. We will try to see with everything with examples. Okay, now if you see here, I have item type and I have my deployment table. Remember one thing, guys: there is something called type code always associated with a deployment table. Always you will have a type code associated with a deployment table. That is a mandatory property that you need to have. Whenever you use deployment tag, you need to use a type code. Okay, can somebody read this? Abhiram, read this. What is it saying?
Deployment table equal to products, type code is equal to 1, property table is equal to product
No,
props.
no. That read that hover text.
Okay. Attribute type code. The mapped item type code must be globally unique.
Read that one. Must be
Globally unique.
it's like this: can your office, can your company have two people with the same employee ID?
Definitely no.
Can two people have same rule number in a class?
No.
In the same way, there cannot be two tables with the same type code. Type code is like rule number for every table. Assume that it is like rule number for every table. Hybris has clearly told us not to use type codes from 1 to 10,000. If you are trying to create a new table, you should use the type code after 10,000. 10,001 to some 37,672, I think. I don't remember the exact number, some 37,000, etc. Okay, from 10,000 to 37,000, it is all up to you. Hybris is clearly specifying us not to mention the type code from 1 to 10,000. That is not our area. Okay, why? See, Hybris for now, when you did initialization, some seed tables were created, yes or no? Some seed tables were created for you, right?
Yes.
Now these seed tables will vary with every version of Hybris that you work on and with every patch that they release. Okay, so let's say in this current version of Hybris, they have given us, let's just say, some 100 tables. Okay, and they have mentioned the type codes from 1 to 100. You are feeling very happy that they have given 1 to 100, so let me try to use 101, 102, 103 for. I created some 100 new tables. Okay, so total tables are 200. I created 100 tables. Hybris has given me 100 tables. I have mentioned the type codes from 101 to 200. They have mentioned from 1 to 100. I have mentioned them from 101 to 200. What happened here is a new patch got released or a new version got released, and I have to migrate my application from A to B version. I started it. At this point of time, what will happen is Hybris has introduced 50 new tables. Let's just say that Hybris has released 10 more new tables or 50 more new tables for the current version to work, because new API calls have been added, so probably they must have defined new item types. So there must be some internal coding which must have been done, because of which they must have defined some extra tables. Now the conflict arises. There are two people with the same rule number. Your table is also having 101. Hybris has also created some new table called 101. There's a conflict here. That is why type code within 1 to 10,000, it is not our headache. That is all completely reserved for Hybris. For us, always the type code starts from 10,001, and make sure no two tables in your complete application are having same type code. So if you are from an architect position, or if you are, even though you are not from architect guys, you can still train your freshers in your group, or if you are a fresher, you can train your fellow teammates. Tell them that whenever they are creating a new deployment table, the type code should not be from 1 to 10,000. They can put a random number and it will work. Probably some 8888, if they put, it might be working, but that is not suggested. Okay, it must be globally unique after 10,000. Okay, so I have my item type and I have my deployment table, but see here, I am extending generic item. What if I am not putting a deployment table here? I don't want to put a deployment table here. What will happen? See here, you have your item type in which you will have attributes. This is what it is. See, you have a column called code, you have a column called name, you have a column called unit. Okay, these are three different. See, every attribute is a new column. That is how you will have to imagine. Table and column, right? Item type and attribute. You are having an item type called product, inside which you are having attribute called code, name, and unit, and you have several other attributes also. Now, okay, I have an item type, I have an attributes. Attributes are nothing but columns. If they are columns, they need to be created in a table. That is why I have mentioned a deployment table. But is deployment table a mandatory tag? No, no, deployment table is not a mandatory tag. Okay, what happens if I don't mention a deployment table tag here? This is what happens. I don't create a deployment table here. That means, because product is extending generic item, generic item must be having some table, right? Internally, there must be a table for generic item, because it contains some default columns. What happens here is, all the columns that you are trying to create here, all the columns, that code, name, unit, whatever you are trying to create, all of these values would be created, all these columns would be created, they would be created in the table which is pointed by generic item. Generic item is having its own table. Your columns that you are trying to create here will be created in generic item. Okay, for that matter, let's say I have created something called my product, which extends product. Now product is anyways having deployment table. Product is having a deployment table. Beneath this, I try to see, after this item type, I'll try to write something like this: item type code equal to my product extends product, and in that I created some 10 attributes. What happens is, because I did not deploy that, it will try to see if the super item type is having deployment table or not. What is a super item type? My product extends product, right? So the super item type is product. So it goes into product and sees, okay, that it contains a deployment table. So let me create all those 10 columns in this particular table. Remember what happens when we try to, let's now try to analyze what is the negative effect of not having a deployment table when you extend generic item. If you are extending generic item and you are not putting deployment table, this is what will happen. Customer is an item type which extends generic item, because it's a base. Customer or employee, whatever. User is an item type which is extending generic item. Product is an item type which is extending generic item, and website is an item type which is extending generic item. Now what you have done is, you created product item type and you mentioned something called price here. Price. Okay, you created an attribute called price because product contains price, and you did not mention a deployment table. What will happen? Your column got created in generic item table. Brilliant. Now you have created customer item type by extending generic item. What will happen? Your customer will also have that price. Your customer, additionally, what you have done is, you have added address for customer. Now you created website. website item type which extends generic item again. What will happen? It will again get those both address column and price column. Does it make sense when you say website has price and website has address? I'm not saying the company's address. Website table having address and price as a column. Is that making sense? No, right? Customer having a price, that's not a meaning at all. There's no meaning at all. The point here is whenever you try to extend generic item, make sure you are having a deployment table. Make sure you are having a deployment table. If you are not having a deployment table, all the columns that you create, I mean to say all the attributes that you are creating within the item type would be created as columns in the table pointed by generic item. Remember, this is one of the most important because I don't want to create the new columns that I'm trying to create in this item type in the generic items table. Okay. Second case, if I am extending product here instead of generic item, let's say I'm extending product. In that case, is it a mandate? No, it's not a mandate. It's not a mandate for you to have a deployment table. Okay, what if I have a deployment table there? I am creating my product, which extends product, and I also define a deployment table. What will happen? This is what is going to happen. You are trying to create some 10 new columns. Product is anyways having 100 columns. Product is having 100 columns. You are trying to create your new item type by extending product, and you are now creating some 10 new extra columns. Those 10 extra columns will be created in a new table. Whatever new table you have mentioned, let's say my products. My products is a new table which you have created, which contains your 10 new extra columns. Plus there would be one column which would be joining these two tables, products table and my products table. Because when you try to save data into my product item type, okay, let's say Nike product for a better understanding. Now you have product which is containing 100 columns, you have Nike product which is containing 110 columns. Now you tried saving data into Nike product. What will happen? You will have 101 columns, sorry, 110 columns you have. Now into all those 110 columns you tried populating data, but ideally speaking, Nike product is an item type which is containing its own deployment table, but that deployment table is containing only 10 columns. From the front end you are getting 110 columns, not from the front end, whatever input you are getting, the data is giving you 110 columns data, but your table which is pointed by your Nike product is only containing 10 columns. Then where is the rest of the 100 columns saved? They are saved in products table. So it's like this: you get 110 columns from the input. 100 columns values are stored in products table, 10 columns are stored in Nike table. When you write a query on Nike product, it will try to join these two tables, product table and Nike product table. It will try to join and it will give you the expected result. When you say product, it will try to give you only product related columns. Did you guys get my point? Guys, is it clear?
Yes.
That's more like it.
So
Okay,
here the
you can
Nike
just
product.
play around with the code. Huh. Huh. it will be, they will be extra, they will be always added to our table. Huh. It will always come from the generic item table.
Kiran, Nike product table will have 11 columns, correct?
It will have 11 columns. Ideally, that extra column is used for joining parent column, parent table, and this table.
Could be the product ID, the unique key, primary key for this.
Whatever it is, it can be internally generated PK, or it can be product ID.
Okay.
It's based upon how you mention it.
Okay, one more question. See here, anyways, we are mentioning deployment tables, which means, I mean, and it says it's a globally unique, must be globally unique. What is the necessity?
Type code should be globally unique.
So when I'm actually defining a table name, why would I again need a type code? Why can't I go alone with the table name?
See, the point here is you must see. Tell me this: can there be two people with the same name in class? Here in our batch
No,
itself,
definitely no. I mean, yes.
In our batch only we have two Sunils.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Correct.
How can you identify their uniqueness?
Okay. But just assume, supposedly, I'm very aware of all my tables and I'm ensuring that
you are aware of everything. You are aware of everything. What Hybris is suggesting is type code is the unique identifier there. You should go with that. What if, see, your customer says by default Hybris is using, let's just say Hybris is using email ID as your unique identifier, okay, for logging in. Your customer says no, this one is not my unique identifier. I want you to take a unique identifier from the user, let's say Aadhaar card or that passport number. You should make sure that the unique constraint should be imposed on passport number or the Aadhaar card number, because that is a unique number for every customer. See, that means for me it doesn't matter even if two people are having same email ID. It doesn't matter for me, because according to the design that you have given me, that is not the way to uniquely identify a user. If I need to uniquely identify a user, for me passport number is the unique identification number. In a similar way, if at all you are having some kind of, there can be two people with the same name in a class, but the unique number that is identified there is with their rule number, or probably with their registration number. In a similar way, this is like rule number for a table. For me, this should be unique.
Yeah, this is Hybris standard and we have to follow it.
Ideally, see, when you do initialization, this gets converted into your create table script only. There also it will hit you. It will scold you saying, boss, you already have a table with the same name. How can you create two tables with the same name? It will anyways complain you. But to make sure that the type code, see, what type code does is it will ensure that, okay, there are no two tables with the same name. Of course, when you try to do initialization and say products and products, what will happen is it will scold you and it will say, no, I cannot do this because you are having already a table with the same name. Till here, is it clear, guys? Can I move ahead?
Kiran,
Yes.
I understood. I just want to clarify one, sir. See, you said suppose generic item has 10 attributes, means 10 columns. Then I'm creating a base item type which extends the generic item. And in
Product
that,
extends generic item.
yes, I have defined 5 attributes. So now my product table will have 15 columns.
Yes.
10 from generic item and 5 from my product table.
Yes. You
Now,
say select start from product. You will get both product related columns and generic item related columns.
There is no join operation. Direct. It will be there in that.
For us, we will not bother about the join operation and all, because we are not working on tables. For me, what is there in product item type, that is what matters. For me, in product item type, I have 15 attributes. Don't think from a tables perspective. Ignore tables perspective. What is present in your item type, you tell me from that perspective. In your item type called product, right now, You have 15 columns. Ignore how many tables it is storing under.
Okay, okay. And now again I have created another my item type which extends the product, but I don't have any deployment products deployment
Uh,
table name. So
Ideally, the columns will be what all new columns that you have created will be created under. If at all your product is having a deployment table mentioned, it will be created under that. If your products is also not having deployment table, then it will get stored in the generic item. Obviously, everything, if you are not mentioning, it will go and sit in generic item only. You have mentioned, it will not sit. You did not mention, it will go and sit in generic item only. Now, when you try to query on your Nike product or my product, whatever you have created, you will get all the columns that you have created. So it will have columns of my product and generic item. All it will show.
okay,
Internally,
okay.
how
When
many
I
tables is not our headache. We will never write a
okay,
query on tables. Remember this. You need not write a join operation. You need not write anything. That is all internal headache of framework.
okay, as just now Abhiram said now, if my product extend product, so in
Hmm.
my product I will have 10, 11 columns,
Hmm.
one from product.
Hmm. That is what it should be. Obviously, that will be the design. I showed you how to get into database yesterday, right? HSQL DB.
Yes, yes,
Just
yeah,
try
yeah.
to see there. You will have yesterday, if you remember, we wrote select star from products. Products we have written. I showed you the
Yes, yes.
columns that were there in product table, right? I have written there as select star from products. There you can see. Just open that particular table and see what all columns are there. You will be able to figure out what is what.
Okay.
Okay?
Kiran, one question.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
let's say we have created a custom new item type without a deployment table, and the attributes are defined. Attribute
Hmm.
names are same, but data types are different.
Hmm.
Will it throw a compilation error or runtime error?
You do one thing, try to create it. Obviously, what you're asking is a simple SQL related stuff only, right? You can just try it out with your try writing the same code and go for an initialization. You will see what will happen.
Okay.
Can you
Kiran?
create two columns with the same name? First point.
Uh, yeah, but
In
it's in a different item type. One is customer, let's
in
say
an
one is
SQL,
product.
one second. In an SQL, can you create two columns with the same name?
Two columns is not possible.
That's what it is. It will obviously throw an error. That's self-understood.
Kiran?
Okay. Other question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that how can we see the ERD diagram in HSQL?
You cannot see the diagram directly. You have to generate it out of your own.
Okay,
You
and
cannot see.
what is the use of this property table? Are you going to teach me further or
What is the use of?
the property table attribute?
I'm not getting your point. What is it? Property table.
Yes, in the
For
deployment tag.
this one.
Yes.
For now, forget it. Forget it. I'll tell you everything in one by one. Whatever I have told you till now, ask me doubts in that. What we are going to tell is not our question now.
Okay. Okay.
Till now, any doubt, ask me till here. You cannot ask me a doubt on custom properties now, right? You can only ask me till type code. I did not talk about this one at all. Okay? Clear, guys?
Uh, Kiran, I have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
When we were writing that flexible search and when we click on the SQL code, we were seeing that the join was happening. So
Hmm.
that does mean that we need to have a relationship type defined as well.
No, we did not have any relation defined, right? Probably there must have been some kind of internal mapping between two tables. They must have saved product related information in 2 3 tables. We don't know. Right now we are only seeing a few columns here. We might not be seeing all the columns. See, I have only few columns mentioned in this particular XML. In another items.xml file, they must have appended extra attributes to the same item type. The definition must have been coming out of several items.xml files. They must have appended columns into this particular item type, not just in one XML. in several XMLs, several items.xml files. They added bits and pieces of the complete item type. So it's like this. In one SQL file, I create a create table script, and in other SQL files, I have 10 SQL files, 1 to 10. Every 1 to 10, everything will be entered into the database. I mean, I'll execute 1 to 10 SQL scripts in the same order. In the first SQL script, I created a table called product, in which I have defined some 5 columns. In the next SQL scripts, what I'll try to do is I'll try to add extra columns. Okay, I'll try to add extra columns. I'll try to write alter table scripts in every of this next uh, SQL script. So what will happen? Consolidatedly, let's say every SQL file from second to 10. That means the next 9 extra SQL files contain at least 5 attributes. Let's say so. Totally, you have 45 extra columns added because of these nine extra SQL files. The first SQL file is having 5 columns. So totally you have 50 columns. But if you open one file, you will only see 5 columns definition. If you open other SQL files also, you will see that extra 5 columns have been added to the same table, right? So that's the same way that they have not defined all the columns in one XML file only. Okay, they have defined it across several items.xml files. Why did they do this? They have done it because of this. See, when I'm working on this particular extension, probably must be a payment related extension. In a payment related extension, I felt because of my design, I felt I need to add a column in product table. Because of my design, probably I figured out that I need an immediate column in product related table so that I can work on promotion related aspects. So I created a column in product. And when I was working on voucher, I thought, okay, probably voucher also requires some kind of column created in this particular product related table. I need to see whether this voucher can be. So I was working on voucher, and suddenly I thought, okay, there is this voucher related stuff which I need to create in order table. Probably order should hold what vouchers it have been applied in that. So I need a voucher related column in order table. So that's how they create. They don't create the full full definition in one particular XML file, and that will be the standard. Absolutely not. You want to modify something, you want to play around with the code, you want to change your definition, do it in your extension, do it in your XML file. That's how they define. They define everything in bits and pieces, but when you do in initialization, your tables are created because of your items.xml file. So if at all it's a base item, if at all the definition is like this, if there is a deployment table present, it will say create table. If there is no deployment table, then it will try to say alter table.
Okay.
Go ahead, guys.
I have another question, Kiran.
Go ahead.
Okay. Is there a way to know the hierarchy of this? Let's say we have product and product 1, product 2, but they are having a hierarchy. First is product, next product 1, product 2. Let's say I'm deploying my extension or my component on this, and I have to always use the latest or the last product. So which is product 2. I don't. How do I know that?
With experience, that's how I can say. Or you need to verify the API docs.
Okay, all right. But that's possible, right? I think that's how we should write our components or extensions, isn't it?
See, I'll tell you a technique. If let's say you want to create something which is similar to product, you just try. See, like I told you, whenever you right click anything, see here, I'll try to right click and say create product. You see something called product here, right? This is the name of your item type. This is the name of your item type. Product, if you see, this is exactly the name of your item type. You felt that no, I need to create something which is similar to this, just that I need to add some extra attributes. So I'll extend product. You felt that, okay, right click and say create apparel product. I have some apparel product here, and I felt that, okay, whatever is there in apparel product, I want to use it. Plus, I want to add some extra attributes into this. So you created my apparel product by extending apparel product. That's how you'll have to do it. Generally, out of experience, this is how you generally do it. You felt that, okay, whatever is given by apparel product is not just sufficient for you. You want to customize the apparel product by adding some extra attributes. Go ahead, directly modify it. That will solve your problem. You don't want to do that, you want to create something from the scratch, you can also do that. Now there can be, like I told you, see, you have vehicle. There is not always a requirement that you should always extend vehicle. For example, you have vehicle, car and bike. Okay, car and bike are two different attributes which are extending vehicle. Let's say you define car first, okay, vehicle, and then you define car. It is not that when you try to define bike you will extend car. According to your example, I have product 1, product 2 table. To define product 3, I should not always go and extend product 2. It depends upon design. I can still extend product 1, but what to extend, I need to define it because of mine. You got my point?
Right. Okay.
So it is not a standard that you should always go with first table or second table only.
Okay. Always it's better to go with the base items of product. That way, whatever the attributes that I have added.
I would not suggest that one also. I would not suggest that. It depends upon design. It depends upon design. So let's say you define some item type and you want to extend, you want to separate two different item types. You don't want the extra columns to be created in the existing item type. Okay. You have product. You know, several things are extending product. Apparel product is also extending product.
Correct.
Electronics product is also extending product. You cannot add gender to electronic product, right? Gender for apparel product is making sense because you can know whether it is a male clothing or female clothing.
Yeah.
But gender for electronic product is not making sense, right?
Right.
So you will define product which contains all common things that can be there for a t-shirt and for an electronic product in product item type. But when you try to define apparel product, you will define all the properties that are associated specifically to apparel product. And when you try to create electronic product, you will try to add only those columns which are specific to electronic product. Got the point? So when you try to create electronic product, only those extra columns will be shown. When you try to create apparel product, only those extra columns should be shown. They should not be added into apparel. They should not be added into your product table. Now, your design might be extended later on, that they might be defining several types of electronic products like laptop, mobile phone, and they might be defining some kind of desktops. Okay, they might be defining cameras. Now all of these again might be having some common functionalities, right? Which are not just product level, but also at electronic products also might be having some common things. Every electronic product will have some common things like these days everything is having a screen, right? So screen size, I'm not saying that is the exact attribute. I just wanted to tell you some random attribute. So it may have a screen, it may not have a screen. So you will have some common features like battery. Okay, what is the capacity of the battery and all. So if you have some common features across all the electronics, just put it into electronics table. Okay. And write your specific columns. Again, for laptop you can have your again separate item type. For mobile phone you can have your separate item type. So that's how you will have to define it.
Okay. I have some more questions. Probably I'll ask at the end of the session.
I think we are not good to go with any more explanation for the day today, guys. It's like I told you, it will take lots of time based upon your understanding your questions. This kind of concept is always interesting, and many people will have questions, especially at team lead and architect level people. So go ahead. Today we are done with the class. I think I cannot tell you extra points from now. For now, tomorrow we will see more about item types. Any doubts you can go ahead. No problem. Ask. Others who are interested can sit down and listen to the conversations.
So basically, Kiran, if we want to know the hierarchy about all the products, so basically we have to go on to look into HAC and see the product and how many levels are there and what are the sub.
The other alternative is you can go to maintenance tab and you can go to deployment section, and you have types with deployment table and types without deployment table. Okay, if you see there are types with deployment table, so you see that MAM demo product is a type which is stored in products table only. Shoes is an item type which is getting stored in products table only. Apparel product is an item type which is getting stored in products table only. Nike color variant is an item type which is getting stored in products table only. So these are all, this is being defined in MAM demo extension. This is defined in sample data extension. This is defined in Y-accelerator core extension. This is defined in sample data extension. So you see that there are several extensions which are being saved in a single table.
That means with deployment. With deployment
The
means it will
deployment
be
table for all of these types, the deployment table is product only.
okay. I mean, with deployment tag means that we'll have a different table, right?
With deployment table means, see, no. The point here is they are all getting saved in, user defined, not generic item. My point is, you did not have a generic item. You are not saving them in a generic item table. That is what it actually means.
Okay.
Okay.
So
this is what it.
How about types without deployment?
In types without deployment, you see some 258 entries, but they might be having columns, they might not be having columns. These things, because these are all abstract, most of which are abstract. So they might be having columns, they might not be having columns. Most of which they are not having. These are all internally defined to us by Hype. Hybris itself has given. We did not create a single column till now, right? We did not create a single column. So we still see only few columns in generic item. So they just defined an item type, which is an abstract. Probably they wanted to have some internal calculations. So frankly speaking, there are no extra columns added to the generic item. That's what they have defined for internal purposes. But if you see types with deployment, there are some columns which are being created. There are some item types which are being created, which are getting saved in the same in the product table. Not just this, if you just go for the next thing, see here, all of these item types are being saved in user groups table. Okay, all of these item types are getting saved in test item or medias related. So you can just play around with it. If you want to see here, specifying a deployment for platform types, if you click on this, you will get to know more information. See, all of these types are getting saved in the same table called medias. You just have to see the documentation. That will give you more insights about it.
So looking at this, probably we can write some hierarchical diagram, right?
Probably. I cannot give you that this is the exact way, but for me, I feel I have several places to browse through because of my experience. I mean, if I have to tell you some things, it will confuse your mind. So that is why I'm giving you basics so that you can just start somewhere.
Maybe we can keep this question to the end so that you can tell us, right?
Probably. You can just make a note of it. If time permits, I can tell you. Okay. Ideally, I complete every batch in 30 hours. For you, I'm telling you, this batch will never be completed in 35 hours also. This will never be completed. I'm pretty much sure about it. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, let's say we are now building a component, generic components, which can be distributed or deployed globally across multiple installations. So, what is the best way to extend the product? We go for a base product extension, extending that, or that is
I'm sorry. I lost somewhere. Repeat the question one more time.
Okay. Let's say I'm building a custom module. Which needs to extend where I need to add a couple of attributes to a product.
Okay, you are to already existing product. You want to add 2 extra attributes.
Yeah, and that time we do the development using extending the product item type, we look at
you directly modify product.
Okay.
You directly modify product. You want to directly modify product, right? Why do you extend and modify it? You mean to say when you say select a star from product item type, you want to get those 2 extra columns.
Yeah.
Is that what is your question?
Yes, but that should be available for all the other item types which others have created, right?
I'm not getting your question. Tell me. I'll try to frame it. Tell me if it is correct or not.
Okay.
You are trying to. 1 minute. Let me frame it. You are trying to create an item type. You are trying to add 2 columns into existing item type called product. Is that what is your question? Or you are trying to create a new item type which is extending product and want to add 2 extra columns in it?
Okay, I want to create a new item type extending to the product, and use those two columns. Now I'll build some functionality.
So this is what you have to do it. You just have to go for item type code equal to my product, extends product, and you can add two attributes here. If you want those two attributes to be created in a new table, add a deployment table. You don't want them to be created in a new table, don't put a deployment table. If you don't put a deployment table, these two columns will also be created in products table. They will not be created in product item type. They are not created in product item type. The table is products table.
Okay.
Table is products table. When you say select a star from product item type, then you will only get all the columns, but against the product related columns you will not get any data. So let's say in product there are 100 columns. In product you have 100 columns. Okay. In my product you have defined two extra columns. You did not mention a deployment table. So these two columns are created in products table only.
Correct.
Okay. Now you say select a star from product. What will happen? One or two columns are returned for you. But those two columns which are extra returned for you as a part of product item type will not contain any data. Null. So you can make it non-searchable for product. You can make it non-searchable because of some property setting. You can make sure that only 100 columns will be returned for you. You can just see it by playing around with the items.xml file. That's it's trial and error. What you have to do, you are asking me.
Now these are all now from generic usage point of view.
My suggestion is try it around and then you can go ahead. Okay. Self-understood. Those are, you should just spend time in learning from them. It's self-understood.
Yeah.
Go ahead, guys. Any other doubts? Go ahead. Today we are done with the class. It's already 10 minutes. Already done 1 hour.
Kiran?
Go ahead. Previous class. Go ahead. Go ahead. Product got generated. You did module gen. Your product table got generated. Next. Obviously it will throw an error. You tried putting both of them in the same. One second. You tried putting both of them in same local extensions.xml file, right? Have you put both of them? Have you put both of them in local extension? Now you only tell me, man. What is the wrong thing that you have done? You only tell me. You tell me what is the wrong. No. Tell me what is the main reason. I want the main reason why you should not include two module gen related extensions in a single local extensions.xml file. Tell me the reason behind it. Think logically and you will get your answer. One second. No. Your answer itself should start with a different word. Think logically. Is it not an exact copy of Y accelerator? You created two Adidas and Nike you created. Those two are exact copies of Y accelerator. Yes or no? Whatever code is in the Y accelerator that got copied to Nike also, to Adidas also, right? You tried putting both of them in a single place and you tried to build. Will the same class files exist in both the modules or not? So when you try to build, how the build hierarchy is known to it? How can it know? You cannot run it in same instance. You cannot run them in instance. You should have a complete. See, man, very simple. You tried creating this. Now now you open Nike module, you will have same definition of tables. You open Adidas, also you will have same definition. You do initialization, it will scold you saying that boss, you have same product table created in Nike, in same in Adidas. How can I create two tables with the same name, with same type code, everything in a same in one instance? Got my point? Obviously that's not a correct way. It's kind, don't mind me saying this, it's stupidity. We should try to create two different instances. Do one thing, create two different environments in the same system. Create two different folders. One folder should contain Nike related code, one should contain Adidas related code. Now you can go ahead and do initializations in two different environments. When you start the server of Nike, you will be able to see Nike related code. When you start Adidas, two B2B what you are trying to do is deploy two B2B B2C applications with the same tables and all. That's not correct. You can create two different sites. Two sites are different. Two modules are different. Okay. At a time, no, you cannot. You can deploy. I'm not saying you cannot, but the point here is they should have different file names, different classes, different table structures, different. Everything should be different. If you are combining everything and trying to create everything, no, it is not possible at all. That is a very big headache. So why do you modify the API? That is why create two different environments. That is why I was saying. Instead, if you want, you can create two different sites and launch them from the same port. Again, launching them from the same port, etc., etc. Deployments again will take lots of time. So that's why it is always preferred if you go with two different environment setups. Hmm. They can. They want two instances. They can create it in two different. They want two websites, or they want two different this one setups. Hmm. Hmm. Two sites. I told you already. One second. I told you already when we learned about website. I told you that you can create two different websites, right? You remember website combination? I told you one website should have minimum of one product catalog, one content catalog. You remember that combination? That you can do. Then what will happen is both the websites will use same tables it will use. Okay. What you are saying is no, that is not possible. No, your technical architect will break his head. So it's all up to his design. Let him think of it. Okay, other questions, guys? Go ahead.
Kiran, I will mail you this question. I have already understood. Just confirmation. Uh, you just reply to that mail. Anyway, it's getting late here, no?
Okay, go ahead. Next. Others? That's it? Okay. So we are done for the day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.